that all seems to be working. How do I want to do this? I think I'm just going to do it as for now. Div wrapper, and then I'm going to do. I don't necessarily want to do a grid because I want to have flexible. So for now, we're going to do a 3-column grid, but that's fine. But each of these is going to have classes for flex auto to give it grow and shrink. We need to give flex here so that we get the layout. Do I not have that plugin installed? I don't have that installed. Okay. Well, probably need to restart for that. No, I don't seem to need to restart for that to take effect. Well, I don't know. We'll see. What other Flexbox, or not Flexbox, tailwind styles do we need? Yeah, that should be done here. Let's actually insert mode. It's going to be in row at this particular size when we go to mobile. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I think I want call first, then on MD. No? Yeah, MD. We'll do this as row. And then, don't care about order. Give it some sort of color just to make sure that it's doing what we want. A terrible lavender color. But it also needs a height. And no, 40, that's fine. Is it rendering? Oh, it just was taking a second. All right, so now if I duplicate this line, And my commands are the same. Good to know. I'll have to add that later. We should get a 2-column. We need to define a gap. Let's just do a gap of 2 for the sake of being able to see it. Not quite what I wanted. We want... I don't think we need that right now. Oops. I didn't have a selection there. First, let's make sure that it's applying the right style. Yeah, it's currently in, because I did row I. Row I is not the correct one. Okay, so now we get that, and then when we go into our inspector here, and we change this to a smaller size, there we go. Now we got our column the way we want. That's exactly what I wanted. But we do need to have these have a minimum width in this particular layout. And our minimum width right now, I think, is going to be... I don't know. We'll do that for the moment. That way, if I duplicate this several times, we eventually get to the point where it should not allow you to do any more. Okay, so now it's fixed to a minimum width, but we break out of the container, so we need to have an overflow. What is the overflow? Flex wrap. Okay. All right, so now we want them to wrap. We're going to turn off our max width here because that's not actually what we need. That's better. Nice little column here. I'm actually fine with that 2 on the gap, but I might even go a little higher. Get some good variations here. Let's set some of these to different sizes. Not 360, that's not one. What are some of our other sizes here? All sorts of options. Okay, so we got some different ones in here that have some minimum widths defined. Come back in here, make sure we're in responsive. Everything goes to a column. I think that works pretty well. Okay, for now though, I think we're only going to have 3 columns, potentially. We can definitely change that later. And we're not going to declare a minimum width on these, are we? I don't think so. All right, they're equal column links. And their height is 0 currently, but they should fit if I did a height on this one of any number. They should all be that. Yay, they're doing the things. Okay. All right. Simple header. Don't know what that's about. There we go. Code completions. Not necessarily always helpful. All right, so what I'm trying to, wow, that needs to have a color. Okay, we can work with that for a moment. I'll change it in a second. But then what I'm trying to do is decide how I want to render out this kind of blocking here. But I'm thinking I want to combine this with this kind of page here where I have an overview of each of the projects that I'm working on. And so I'm thinking that I might just have a section here where I give each of the end projects in Astro. I'm using the content section on projects and updates. I could do this in a similar way for the other page. That's fine. Am I declaring a content type for projects? I should be. I am. Excellent. So we'll just add in some of the same. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait. Git collection. I should probably import that. Actually, I pretty much am just going to do this for the moment. Not sure what that was. Okay, so we're going to get projects and then not really do anything with it yet. For the sake of just having something here, we will do projects.map. Projects could potentially be empty, and we're going to say map it as project, much as we did in our other file. And then here, we're just going to echo out one of these. Oh, because I did curly brace, and I'm not sure why there was a space there. Okay, so we'll render out one of these, and inside of each of these, we should have, I think it's project.title. No, it's project.data.title. Should reference the other file. At least for the moment. Right now I only have one test file in updates, but I don't have anything in projects, so let's make a projects directory, and we'll define a new file. This is going to be test project.md. Am I using MD or MDX? I'm using MDX, so we'll just real quickly rename this. And in here, we need to account for these particular attributes. And apparently I don't have any of my plugins installed on this computer. Normally I'm doing my development on another computer. All right, so in here, mimicking kind of what I did in the test update over here, we have our front matter with title, description, things like that. Then we have a body. And so I need to do a title. We need to have status. Now, in the status, I'm intending it to be one of these specific attributes here. So in progress. And I can change my TypeScript definition to actually enforce that. I just haven't yet done that. And we have a description and a creation date. We are in February, and today is the 4th. Now, this should be a date time, if I remember correctly. What I did in the other test project here, test update. So I'm just going to put just a 0 field date for now. And our front matter, and then just put heading, test project, wow, that's a very purple color, but it's fine for the moment. And then I'm going to just real quickly duplicate this and then have a second test project just to make sure that as I'm adding out the layout, everything works. Okay, so now I can start to style these in some way that's a little bit better. So the first thing we're going to do is the entire thing is not going to be that. For the sake of the moment, we just might do a border of an accent color, but it's definitely going to be darker. And then we're also going to do a rounded, and I think we're just going to do a rounded large. And then we need our text color also in here. We need to declare our border. That's a really big border. Is there a smaller number that we can use? Back to our cheat sheet just for now. All right, just T. No, that's border top. Oh, just border. That would have been easy enough to miss. All right, and so now we'll start doing some inner margin. And so our margin here, let's just start with that. That's not quite right. That's too much. Oh, we're in padding because we're inside. It's a little bit better. Now I think we do need that top margin, but we should put that up here. And so think we're going to do like 12 again. That's too much. For the moment, it's fine. We'll work with it. It's just really, really wide. Okay, so inside of this, we're also going to have some other things. So I'm going to bring in button. Sure, we'll just do that for the moment. And I need to import button actually from our UI library. It's not an Astro. It's still not an Astro, it's a TSX. Excellent. We now have a button. All right, we can get rid of these other files for a moment. And I think what we're going to do is set this to like an H2 for a title. We have a lot of resets, I think, right now. So let's set this back to a like text XL kind of thing going on for now. We need our button to have a little bit more of a margin top. So we're going to do this as that did not seem to apply quite the way I expected. I expected this to have a margin top of 12, but I don't see it doing that. Let's do a padding on the top first, just to see what we can have happen here. Yeah, I don't think that's being applied. We could do a margin on the bottom, and that will shove it down, but I do want to figure out why the other one's not working. And I think if we're going to do 4 in the other places that we have to do this one as 4, otherwise it's going to look really weird. And so I want to see why the styles here are not working. So I'm going to do just like text XXL or something like 2XL, not XK, XL. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be applying. Yeah, that's all getting replaced inside of the button itself, which is fine. It just means that we won't be having a class here. All right. Now with our definition that we have this, we have a link and a GitHub URL and a doc URL. So I'm going to want to break these out into multiple buttons depending upon what is available in the project. So if our project data dot link, and then we'll render out this component, which is just going to be the button for now. And this isn't project.select, this is data link. We will do the same thing for the other ones. Feels like that is indented really far. It's just going to keep re-indenting it. That's fine. But we'll duplicate this for our other links. And so this one is going to be our GitHub URL. And this one is going to be our doc URL. All right, so we have 2 test projects here. I'm gonna add in another project. And so one of the projects that I'm currently working on is Argo, which is a C++ game engine. And we'll add in our front matter here. And here we will do our title of Argo, our description, our status is in progress. And our creation date was actually a little while ago. But I'm going to put it as around June 1st. It was not exactly right, but I'll fix it later. I'll put the time as nothing, and then that should be all we need in order to get it to show up. And there it is. So now we can come in here and we can say that it has a link, and our link goes to and then we also have a GitHub URL. And this one I will copy and paste just because it makes things easier. Not that one. We want Argo community. I started work on a different version of the project using C#, and then have since changed it. So all right, and our GitHub one did not show up, so let's just make sure that is typed correctly in all the spots. Ah, it's all capital. And then we do also have a doc URL, and our doc URL all right, so now we got our 3 buttons here, and I want each of them to do a target blank, but I think I'm just going to add that to the button itself. If we're using href, I'm going to add a target blank. Maybe. Do I want to put it in here? I think so. I think it makes sense. Now, it's easy enough for me to just do a target blank in here. And then we'll just copy this into the other buttons, and it should open up in a new window. All right, my button does not seem to be doing anything. Well, that would be because it's just ref on this one. Okay, so now these still don't do anything. No, that's a React ref. I could do it as an on-click, but I don't really think an on-click is great as an idea here. However, I can go to the actual documentation instead of just guessing. Yeah, they're having it go to an href, so I think really I need to make sure that these are actually doing what I expect them to. And I don't have this as a React component. I have it as an Astro component, so it's not going to show up there. Well, it shows up, so I'd expect it to be here. And so I should just be able to inspect. And that is absolutely not right. Let's take that out because that is absolutely wrong. In which case, I don't even think I need any of this. I should just be able to do that because I'm not doing the string concatenation. All right, now these should work. No? They are all being set to the same thing. Which is not what I want at all. Okay. They should have different URLs now, but they're still not going to the right page. We have a target blank on a button. Is link coming from them? I don't think so. I know I could do it through an on-click handler, but I really just want to be able to treat it like a link. And I don't want it styled like a link. I want it styled like a button. Yeah, this is just the outside. This isn't the functionality of it. And then they do link, but I'm not sure where link comes from. It's like they declared a separate component. I could do it just as an A tag for the moment. We'll see if this actually works in the manner of which I think it will work, but I haven't tested it yet. All right, I want that bumped down to another line and I'll do it myself. Okay. I'm just going to copy and paste and then I'll change the labels again. It's easy enough. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was worried about, is that it's now not styled correctly. I had projects in the URL, so that's even a wrong URL anyways, but that was a easy enough thing to find, so there we go. Yay, it goes to the right page now. All the links work. Great. But I don't like this. This isn't styled the way that I want, and it's not what I expected in terms of being able to use the button. I could just add an on-click handler. It'd be fine. But if I do that, I'm going to do that in the button itself. And so inside a button, I'm going to say, I don't want to expand props. I want to all right. Well, I mean, that's always a good thing to consider. So not if it's disabled, and if props href. But I don't necessarily want to do it in window. I want to kind of create a new window if target is blank. Why do you think that's an unnecessary semicolon? Okay, that's what it should be. I think. Logically, it makes sense. If props is not disabled and props href, then we're going to prevent default and do this. And then I can just basically add in my on-click here, because otherwise it shouldn't do anything. So it should just return void effectively. But that's going to open it up in the same window. It's not going to open up in a different one. And it's not going to do what I want, I think. How is it getting props? Yeah, it's still an on-click binding. I want to put that outside of the on-click. Okay, that I would expect it to actually console log something. Why does this not console log? Because I'm looking at the wrong console. I'm not sending it to the client. I'm rendering it in Astro. All right, I think part of the reason that I'm having such an issue is because the client load is not set. I'll do it on client visible. That way this will hydrate on the client side. And if I happen to have a bunch of things and it pushes it off the page, it's not going to be that big of a deal. All right, so this is working as I expect it to. So now I can get rid of this and this. And instead of doing window location href, we can do yeah, just window open. That's fine. But we'll do that conditionally. So I'll say if props target blank, window open. Else, which I really don't even need it as an else. Now I'll do it as an else and do this. Sure, we'll just do that. Get rid of this one. Reformat file. All right, and that way, now these should be able to open up in a new window because target blank is set. It's been a while since I've had to look up how to open up a new window. I never use it. I always just use window location. All right, we can get rid of that. And then we'll add in maybe a paragraph with project data description. And since that's a required, I don't necessarily need to gate it. Otherwise, it should just be blank. Seems a little odd that they're different sizes, but that's not too bad. It's workable for now, at least. at least for now. This will go through a couple other revisitations before I call it good. But I think the big thing that I actually need to work on completing is this page. So what this page has is right now just a list of projects, and the colors didn't get moved over on this one. Let me just resolve that. So I work on this project on a couple different computers, and the other computer is where this project has been worked on lately. So I think that there's a changed file that didn't get merged in. No, it doesn't look like there's anything over there, but I can do a pull and just see if there's something I'm missing or not. Yes, I was definitely missing some things. Apparently my schema has changed, so let's fix that too. Apparently now it's just date instead of creation date. I keep changing this on the other computer and forgot that I had made that change. So easy enough to fix. We just come in here and change this to date. Now I'll have to do that on the other two projects also. And there we go. We're back to this. So we have on this front page this that I was just working on, but then on this page, this is going to be more of a like an update stream. So more like here's a posting regarding this particular topic. So if I were to go into this and I put in some generated content here, I'd rather do lorem ipsum, but my lorem ipsum only does that much, which is not entirely meaningful. So we'll just do this for the sake of having something for the moment. And if I come in here and I do the projects here, and then I click here, we get that paragraph of text, but this is not really formatted in any way. And so that's one of the things that I want to work on today, is kind of formatting this overview page, as well as formatting the update stream if we have time, but the projects page here is the first priority. So I wanted to get a little bit of idea of what I was doing by adding in these, but these are still not perfect. These are just placeholders, but it's a placeholder and it's good enough for the moment. So let's start with the project index. And the project index is a simple list right now without anything on it. And so I'll just come in here and add some very rudimentary styling to each of these. And so for the sake of this right now, we will just use basic class and then do a border on the bottom. And this will be 1 pixel. And we want our color to be, I would probably just do like a gray. But I might lean into one of the other colors because we have the kind of rainbow bar across the top, and the Revelry logo has greens and purples and blues. So we can start with something like that for just the moment, and then we can do just a general margin on the Y. And this is going to be something closer to like 12. No, 12 is way too high. Maybe 8. I think we can kind of start working with 8. Really, I want the placement of things to be pretty well centered. And I think I'm going to declare the li again as flex, but I'm going to say that this is a row. We'll do the same thing that we did on the other one. We'll do our small first. And so call for small, and then MD will be flex row. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to like justify center and align like to the middle. Is that what I want? I mean, ultimately it works, but let's look at the inspector to see where my placement of things is. It is in the center. Okay. So maybe instead of doing a margin on the Y, maybe I want to do a padding on the Y. Yeah, I think that's closer to what I was looking for. But again, 8 is too much, so we'll go back down to 4. So now we get it a little bit more centered. We'll just add in a background color, not border. Ugh, that's way too bright. It's just a placeholder for now. I just want to make sure that I can see each of the rows. And then I will just run my tailwind formatter just to put everything in the proper order. But then the A tag is actually going to be the entire row because I want the entire thing clickable. No, I don't want the entire thing clickable because I'm going to go ahead and add in the same buttons, but they're going to be in line instead of on separate lines. So I'm just going to copy this for the moment. And I'll just drop them in here. And I'm going to put them in a container because I want basically the buttons on one side and the title on another. So I'll just do this real quickly as, I guess, a div. And we'll paste everything in here. And we'll do our class. And we will say self to the end. No, not self to the end. Okay, so the items are justified to the center vertically. I also want justify center on the horizontal because I do want them there. But that doesn't seem to be placing exactly as I would expect. Oh, I'm still in an A tag, which I need to exit out of that. And then get rid of the A closing here, reformat file just for clarity's sake. Okay. And then this. We can do our class with a justify to the start. I still don't think that. So that goes to the end, and then this one It's not justify. All right, we got our flex row. It's there. Honestly, the simplest thing might just be to do the flex between. Because then these get shoved over to the edge. That's there. And that's exactly what I want. I don't have to do weird, annoying things. So just do that. And then I need to have a padding on the X, and it needs to be less than the Y. So that gets in there. And then if I'm on a mobile device, how do I want that to look? For the moment, I'm kind of fine with them just wrapping, but I'm going to say that on smaller devices, we want to have a margin on the top equal to 4. But then on medium devices, our margin on the top is going to be equal to 0. And so then as we stretch this out, everything stays where we want it without weird shifting margins. And this view should probably be the same link here. Because I can see someone hitting view here thinking it's going to go to this page. Which generally speaking, it will be the same page. In this particular case, I already had an existing page that was going to. So maybe I just don't let that be a thing. So I say, I don't know why I'm checking if project is null here, because project can't be null at this point. Data could technically be null, but I haven't ran into that yet because it's constrained at generation time. But yeah, changing this just to slug instead. And what that will mean is that view, instead of going to a separate site, will go to this page, which I think is a nicer flow for now. But that does mean that I need to put my tick marks back in, and I need to quote this, and I need to say from the root of the project, go to projects, and then do the slug, and then we will close that. The other ones are fine the way they are. Copy and paste just because I don't want to retype it. There's no need to. But now if I hit view, we'll go to this page. I don't think we need target blank on that one. And so when I hit view, it should, within the same page, open up to this view. And then this view is going to have a back to the projects overview. But this page is going to be used for displaying like current status, as well as bringing in updates filtered to this project, images for this project, different things like that. So this is very much the landing page where I would want it. Whereas this old page, this information is going to get brought over. And in fact, let's just go ahead and bring that over. So this is going to be our content for the moment, and I'll probably end up revising this content to make it more meaningful, but at least it will be on the page as a placeholder. And then each of these, I think this is wanting a comma, like it's just styling, things like that. But so I think each of these is going to be an H2. And then a couple paragraphs. Okay, so is this rendering as an H2? It is an H2. Excellent. I think maybe I'm not ready to style this page yet, but I think on this page I might just do the H1 and then have like a subtitle. So maybe something like an H3 subtitle. And this is going to be our entry data, and this is going to be description for now. Really, I would put it as something else. And also, the H3 may not semantically be correct. It may be an H2. I'm just putting it on there for the moment. It may be like an H2 or not even a heading at all. It may just be styled as a subtitle and be like a paragraph or something. And then I think we want to have, some extra blank lines between. So we got our heading, our subtitle, everything's unstyled right now. I'll have to style those later. I think if I went in and turned on some of my base styles and then also came in here to the tailwind config, and then I basically said to was it Astro? Okay, apply base styles here. Like if I set this to true, I wonder if that would behave any differently, which I doubt because of my tailwind file. I am including these up top, which are going to act kind of as a reset. So basically the tailwind config or the Astro config here isn't really going to make much of a difference because it's going to be applied either way since I'm including it into that base file. But just means that I have to style those things a little bit more for now. I'm not actually sure if I have like a reset in here. Yeah, it doesn't look like I have any kind of defined reset that I've declared. Oh, hi. I didn't see the follow. Apologies for that. Hello there. How are you doing? Good. Glad to hear that. I'm just working on my project website and figured I would start doing some streaming. So, first time that I've done streaming for the purpose of code. And currently I'm working on this page, which doesn't look very good, but this is just some placeholder style for the sake of visualizing that the page is working how I want, but really the accent color will go away and things like that. Oh, well, that is absolutely not what it should be saying. Oh, I see. It didn't save. It didn't save. That's what happened. Does it say the correct thing now? Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I could jump over and play Animal Crossing, but that's going to possibly be for a stream later tonight, not for right now. I haven't actually figured out what game I'm going to be playing later, but I plan on streaming a little bit later tonight, so about maybe 3-ish hours. But that's actually going to be some sort of game, and feel free to come back then at that point if you are looking for gameplay. Well, I think I could be where you could play games if I was actually playing a game. Well, right now, what I'm working on is I'm rebuilding this site here. So this is a website that I have, but as you see, there's not a whole lot on here, and I want to kind of make it a little bit more. So yeah, I'm working on code for rebuilding this page over here. And right now it's pretty plain boring, but it's a work in progress. The idea is that I will have a space for my game engine project. So I'm working on building my own game engine. I just haven't had a lot of time to work on my game engine project. But I can. I don't want to show you right now. I was going to open it up and show you, but I don't think I'm going to right this second. All right, I didn't declare any kind of max height or anything there, so that's fine. I could throw it back in the sort, but... And we need to get rid of the semicolon there. Make sure the sort is actually working. Okay, the sort is indeed working. Excellent. Though if I'm going to sort it, I should probably also sort it on this side. Yay, now these are also going to be sorted. And then can I do a limit directly here, or do I need to do that? Well, yeah, I could just do like a slice. Let's do from 0 to 1 for the moment. All right, that works. So now only ever draw up to 3 right now instead of having more. And since it's ordered by the date, we should get the 3 newest ones. Let's see, what else do I want this to do? It's not very well styled right now. I don't necessarily like that everything is being reset, and I wonder if this is a Tailwind thing. But I might just come in here and declare H1. I wouldn't normally do those styles, but that's fine. Just to have something in here so that this will at least make some level of sense. Okay, so now when I come into like the project page, these are at least a size that's different. They don't have a lot of space in between them, but that's fine. We'll just put this on top and bottom for the moment and then deal with it later. The styling does not look quite right, but I just used defaults. Like I didn't actually spend any effort setting proper sizing here. Okay. And that one doesn't need to blank anymore. So back on our index page, we can get rid of that for this one. So now view should just open up at the same page. We have this largely unstyled in a decent way. We'll do just a generic button type thing up here. But I need to import button if I'm not already. I'm not importing button, so let me import button. That is UI button JSX, and then this is a named export. So then if I'm on this, I get a back to projects button, and then when I click on it, it should go back to projects, but it's not. So we'll open up our inspector and see what's going on. Yeah, I should track something by an ID. That's fair. But I don't think it's on this page. It is on this page. It's all the top navigation. Okay, well, let's fix that too. I'm not entirely sure why it thinks that it needs that. We got a map here, and then in here, oh, React, track by. No, I don't want to. Key. It's index. Just. I believe it's just doing the second parameter, but sometimes it's different. That would be even better, just do it by ID, but I don't have an ID. I do have an ID unless it's a divider, and then divider doesn't have one. Yeah, I think I'll just track by ID for the moment. Okay. That should go away. It did not. Top navigation, line 157. That's not inside of a loop. That one shouldn't matter. This one's inside of a loop, so it should matter. But this one has a key now. Oh, is it because I'm passing drop-down element also? That I'm not using drop-down, at least not in this stage. I really don't like my main content section being edge to edge here. Though I'm getting like way off of what my intention was. I was intending to work specifically on the projects page, and now I'm messing around with the top navigation. I'm not going to look at the top navigation for the moment. I just need to do the actual project pages. Otherwise, I'm going to get distracted doing so many other things. Okay, so I think that this is probably also the same thing of what I had earlier, where the client doesn't actually have the JavaScript behavior for this. So this is going to be, generally speaking, this one will always be at the top of the page, but I think I just like having it as visible. Like, I don't like having it hydrated unless it needs to. So now we should get it back to project, works just fine. And I should leverage the Astro like loading into a particular slot so that you're not reloading things like the navigation and such. But for now, this is what it does. This isn't very well styled, so I want maybe to just do a variant of link. And then we get just a link here and then do something like that just for the moment. It's not great. It's very easy to miss, but it will work. And then I don't think we need these highlighted right now. So we could just turn those off. And I think we can, on our project list here, we can change our title. This should be, I don't know, like I would say like an H2, but it doesn't have a heading. So when we're starting to get into the semantics of the HTML, it's just not technically valid for accessibility purposes because there's no heading. And I think H2 is way too large with the styles as we've currently declared them. I'll probably end up tweaking those styles anyways, but we can come back in here and change this all later. Okay. Back on index, this recent projects, if I can get rid of the additional styling for the moment. That way I can just change all the styles in one spot later. It's not great, but it works. One of the things that I wanted to do and I don't know if I'm going to do it on the projects page, but I do want to do it when I get to the update page, is I kind of want to have a, I do it on my docs site. So if I go over to my documentation site, when I'm in a particular article at the bottom, I have this next banner. And I'm thinking I might want to do something similar where I have a, on the updates page at least, a next update with a little preview of it. Don't know though. And I kind of do on here, this giant banner, but this takes up a lot of space and doesn't really show anything. So I'm trying to figure out if I can make this more meaningful. But something like this, to where it's just like the next post and then an easy way to traverse through it. I don't know yet. And I definitely want to make my project overview page just a little bit more visual so that we can have these cards like this with the different background images and such. I don't necessarily like the implementation I had here because when I go into like a mobile view, the background images just kind of go away and then they end up as boring cards. So I'm thinking that I want to revisit this and do it a little bit differently so that way I get these images in a way that doesn't distract, even on a smaller screen. Even just a little bit of color or something to just make these boxes just stand out a little bit from one another. And then figure out, different ways that I want to lay that information out to be meaningful. I think right now, just having everything be a very generic, like GitHub instead of community version, or I had different buttons at different points where it would just be like different types of GitHub repos. Your text is red now. Oh, you must have changed your name color. I think it's going all right overall. Just trying to figure out what I'm wanting to do in terms of this particular project and how I want to modernize it and make it a little bit more flexible. On my side, it shows that your name is in red now. Now you're green. It threw me off at first because I wasn't sure if someone else had joined in and I had to stop and like read the name a little bit deeper. What is the question? I don't understand the question. It's all in capitals. Well, if you finish your message, I'll try and respond to it. But it was just one of those, like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, I can see when you change your name color. And so it was like a bluish color, then it was red, and now it's green. And that was the only thing that I was commenting on, is it made me think that someone else had joined the chat. And so I didn't want to be ignoring them. I have not played either of those. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play like a lot of games. So I'm trying to force myself to take a little bit of time for games, but that's going to be a little bit later in the day. Why is secondary black? Not sure. I'll figure it out later. And if this is going to be done as just the project slug, then they all get it. Excellent. Not everything has a GitHub, not everything has a doc URL, and I might change this instead of link, make that into like an external link. So if the project data, I'm not making a game right now, but I'm making a game engine so that I can make games with that. Well, it should say software development. Yeah, but there's only one category, at least that I saw. All right, I think I'm going to break out my buttons into a separate component because I'm starting to put them into multiple places now. And I don't like having that much duplication of code. So I think I'm just going to take all of this, all of these, I guess, and I'm going to refactor them into some external component. And so in my components, I'm going to do, no, I've played it a couple times, but I don't really have Among Us. Like, it's not a very fun game to play by yourself. Okay, so in this one, I'm not using any props being passed in, but I'm going to want to pass in actually, I'll just do it as declared up here in the front matter. So const project equals, and I think this has to come from Astro. Yeah, it's just a matter of I don't really have a whole lot of people right now, but can get there. It will grow over time. Okay, and then all of these also go away and again get replaced with project buttons for this project. And everything works. Yay. But that means we can get rid of button here and button on index, which I only see that one. Get rid of button, we don't need it. What did I change in main layout? Oh, it was just the width stuff. Okay, let's close all tabs and then only open up the two that we care about. Otherwise it just gets in the way. And each of these buttons should continue to work. So if I do view, we get that page. And if I do external, we get the external page. Great. I don't think I'm super worried about anyone's screen peeking, but I don't really have that particular game to play. All right, I think on each of the project pages, I potentially have a like an image gallery because I'm going to have like a current state of this project and where it's at. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into one of my other projects and just kind of take what I've started there, and then we can see where that ends. I may not have that actually cloned down yet, so I may have to clone that real quick. Oh, you must have got those from Full Elven, that channel. What style is the game? Like the game that I'm working on? I'm not sure what you're asking. I am planning to make one, yes. But what I'm working on is more of a game engine. So the game engine is used to make a lot of different types of games. And so right now, I will actually go to my doc site. It's easier to see there. I have a little bit of a roadmap for what I'm working on. But each of these, I'm planning to have some very, very basic demos. And so at first, it's literally just like tic-tac-toe and some board game stuff. But then it's going to start getting into more like Breakout and Tetris and things like that. And then you start getting into things similar to like Mario and such. And then starting to get into this would be more like a Final Fantasy type RPG or whatever. And then you start getting into things like Stardew Valley type things and different things like that. So a lot of them will all be 2D. That's what I'm planning on right now. But I'm not just making one game, I'm making a system that can really be used for a lot of different types of games. At least that's the plan. Yeah, so this page here, what I had previously, I had some well, if I just go back to the old page, I had some images, and I don't know actually what happened to my images. They got lost at one point. But it was some very simple things that you could do with it right now. So I don't really have a lot that I can show in terms of the engine. It's mostly like I would say kind of similar to a Minecraft type thing where it's just colored blocks, but you can't like move them. They stay there. At least for what I was doing in the prototype. But when I'm working on the game engine, I'm waiting for the page to load. This isn't going to have a lot that you can see right now. I'm in the middle of like restructuring it, and I'm not really working on the game engine right this second. Oh, and this is the wrong project. I need to switch over to Argo. All right, so my current like Argo project, it's not a whole lot that you can see right now. If I were to run this and it needs to go and build everything, because this is building it all from like C++. And so then if I come in here and I launch my playground application, which is just my little testing project. And so in here, I just want to do run. And I get just a window that just has a box moving around. It's not very much to look at. It's very, very basic. But this is pretty early on in the process. Mostly what I'm working on today is I'm working on building out the project like website. So the project website will have information about it. And then as I build in more things, it will have pictures from it. Since I started over on this particular project, I don't have anything that I can show for this particular version of it. You hit the corner, 0, 0, 0. Yeah, right now this just goes in a pre-programmed pattern. It's not doing anything super interesting. What made me decide to do this particular thing is, have you ever seen like an old DVD player where if you let it sit for too long, it would get the DVD logo bouncing around the screen? And when it hit the corners, it would go in a different direction and change color. That's what started this. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that I can show here. It's very early on in terms of this. I'll be working on the game engine project probably. I don't want to make any promises, but next time I do, yeah, the DVD screensaver is what I kind of base that on. But my next game engine project, like time when I'll have to work on it, might be next weekend, but no promises there. I might still be working on the website stuff. But yeah, right now this is very. I have a lot of things planned for this, but it's very hard to show people. So if I go into my my other window over here, I have multiple documents for this. And so when I start going into my plans, I have a lot of things planned in here, but it's just not all of it's really built out yet. So it's really hard for me to show anyone kind of what I'm working on.
because I'm still working on a very early version of it. But today I'm just working on website stuff, just to kind of keep things focused, so that way I'm not going too off into the weeds of trying to focus on everything, because I keep coming across things like I want to change this or I want to improve this, but then I go and I do something and I'm like, well, now I'm not doing the thing that was on my list. So I definitely want to, make sure I'm focusing on the right thing. I don't think Sans from Undertale really needs much of an HD version. Like, I think that's the whole thing. Like, he's got a very distinct style already. This isn't a very interesting looking list. I like my old list a little bit better, but I haven't rebuilt that yet. So you can't really live stream from the Switch itself. You have to use like a computer. Now, on the PlayStation or the Xbox, you can live stream from those, but I find that when I'm using like my fancy microphone, I still prefer to hook it into a computer. I don't really like playing first person shooters. I get a lot of motion sickness and such, and I just don't really enjoy that. But I play a lot of single player games, and so I'll probably end up playing, games like that. I should be able to. Oh, do I have to do that at the top before everything or outside? Ah, interesting. An undefined component. Interesting. I'd have expected that to work. Yeah, that makes sense because then it wouldn't be declared. Yeah, but that doesn't work. Weird. Oh, I know why it's not working. Because if I go into my main layout and I turn off the rainbow bar, we still have it, but now it's inside of the content section. So it's appearing like it's supposed to. It's just at the top. One way that I can kind of fix this is I could say I want to create like a div with a class. And this class I could say is relative. And that should force the rainbow bar to appear in the relative content because I believe it's an absolute position. It does not seem to be. But we're not inside of React, so why do you need class name here? Whatever. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me. And then rainbow bar, I have it fixed. That's why. Well, so I can make it show up in the content like that. And with that, I should be able to take out those, and now it's at the top like it should be. So if I'm looking at main layout and I put my rainbow bar back, that's where I want it. And then I have another one down here where I want it. And so then if I go back into my Astro project and I can just copy this, I'm not keeping this. This is just a playing around kind of thing just to make sure that the components are working how I want. And now I get a rainbow bar between each of them. But again, not keeping that. But what that will enable me to do is I want to bring in like an image gallery component that I started working on in my other project. And so if I come over to my other project's code base, and I believe that it's in the components here. Oh, did I not commit it? I may not have committed it. This is definitely an older version, so I don't think I've committed it, which means I need to commit it before I can pull it into my other project. All right. Why did that not open? I'm looking at things on my other computer, and yeah, that's what it is I haven't committed it yet. So everything is not there for me to pull down onto the other side. Well, I'm going to go ahead and real quickly commit that so I can kind of pull it down. And hopefully that will go just fine. All right. Well, my image gallery component that I started is not committing properly, or it was just taking a minute. Okay, it was just taking a minute. So now what I can do is I started working on this image gallery component for my other site. And so I'm going to start kind of bringing this in a little bit. It doesn't really have a lot of style to it. It just basically draws out the images. And I think I'm going to do something similar for this particular site. So for things like my Astro project, I can show screenshots of, the work in progress. So hello there. Have I moderated you yet? It looks like I have. This isn't the most interesting stream ever. This is really just me working on some code stuff. I plan on coming back to stream playing some games in a couple hours. You didn't know that it had a software development category? Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people end up using it. It's very niche. I think I'm going to actually call it image gallery. It's a little bit redundant because it's in a folder titled image gallery and the component is called image gallery also, but it'll be fine for now. I'm trying to wrap up pretty quickly. I have a couple other things that I'm going to do, and then I'll come back in a couple hours and play some form of a computer game. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be yet, but definitely if you are interested, come back at that particular time and let's play some games. But for now, I don't know how interesting my code project is or not. No, I haven't eaten dinner yet, but I kind of had a later lunch, so what are you thinking for food?
Oh, it's probably because these images don't actually exist yet. I mean, you could make a stew. What is time? You got all the time, right? Ooh, that sounds nice. I have to say that I think the trying to follow the chat is a little bit distracting for doing the code stuff, but trying to make it happen. I need to get more used to streaming and doing other things, but I don't even know if I have any screenshots on this particular computer that I can put in here. I tend to keep the screenshots on the other computer where I'm actually doing my development work most of the time. I'm just trying to move over to doing development work on this computer if I'm going to start doing some level of streaming with it. So I don't know. We'll see if I have any images here. I'm just looking through some of my folders to see if I happen to have saved any images on this computer. Otherwise, I will probably just add some placeholder ones and then come back and add them in later. So I do have a folder for screenshots, but I don't think that anything is specific to the work that's actually occurring right now, but it will give me a starting point. So I'm just going to copy some of these images into a folder and just make sure that my gallery is starting to show up correctly. And normally what I'll do is I will have these images actually go through a processor. Sure. Are there a lot of them? I don't see them on my side. Unless I'm just not sure where to look, but so there are some. Yeah, anytime you see those, feel free to take care of them. Wow, there's a lot of them.
How do you see them, but I don't? I just don't see them. Should I be looking somewhere else? Like, they're in the viewer list. Well, I don't see the viewer list. Ah, interesting. I have to go through like an extra menu to see that. I may not have it because I don't actually have the stream open. I have the like streamer dashboard inside of the Twitch app, and then I have the OBS panels. All right. My Astro appears to be broken. And I bet it's probably broken because these files didn't exist and it's trying to do a glob of them. And so, where is it trying to do a glob from? Let me just remove image gallery here and see if that does any better. Okay, so the page loads until I try and drop in image gallery. Image gallery doesn't really have any usage of glob. Oh, it's this one here. All right, I think I know what I can do to fix that. So that's not in source anymore, unless I do that. And now I have images on the page. So what ended up happening here is instead of following the specific path that I'm telling it to do, it's just doing its own thing. It's just getting all of the images in that folder. I mean, I think that seems like a good idea. Are there any like downfalls to doing that? Ah, well, I don't think that that's a very good joke, so it's not something that I would end up doing. Well, I think for now, I'm getting pretty close to the time that I had estimated. But we have a few things working now. We have this recent projects kind of list. It only shows the top 3 right now. That's adjustable. We have buttons to external links. And then when we come into the page, we get the project listing here. And then this page here with the content and images. The images kind of flow into their own little stacking grid. So it should only have however many will fit within the space. So it should sometimes do 4, sometimes do 6 or 8 or whatever. There's no like click actions. So they don't open up in a lightbox or anything. And we have some functional pieces that kind of work. There's still a lot to do, but I think that is pretty much where I'm going to end this particular stream before I get started on some other task. And then in a couple hours, I plan to come back and I'll be streaming some gameplay, and hopefully I'll be able to actually update my streaming details correctly this time. So that way for the first half of the stream, it doesn't show that I'm playing Animal Crossing when I'm really doing code, because that's a very different thing. But I'm going to leave it here for now, and I'll check back in a couple hours. Bye.